We're going to continue discussing interventions from the private sector in this next panel as we look at the solutions that address affordability, accessibility, and wellness. So joining me for this session is Charlie Morrison, the CEO of Salad & Go, and Nicole Portwood, Salad & Go's Chief Marketing Officer. Welcome. It's so nice to have you both here. Thank you so much for supporting this event. We really appreciate it. Charlie, I have to start with you because you have a really interesting origin story, and I need to hear it, and I need this audience to hear it.
All the way back?
What was the company you were involved with before?
Yeah. All right. So, hi, everyone, and great to be here. Thank you for having us. My story began in the restaurant industry. I have been in and around what I will refer to as fast food or really enjoyable, craveable foods for my entire career. That includes places like Wingstop, which I was most recently at, Pizza Hut, another pizza concept called Pizza Inn, and many others. And so I've made a career out of being involved in restaurants in some way, shape, or form and feeding hungry people.
Yeah.
But to my story, 2 years ago, I actually quit my job and came to this great concept that I had never heard of, became a board member first, and then asked if I could be the CEO of this great venture called Salad & Go. Which our food truck's out here today.
Yeah.
Hopefully many of you got to try one of our products and enjoy that great salad. The reason I left, everything we're doing about transforming the idea and the negative stigma around quick service restaurants and how we can make fresh, nutritious food affordable and convenient for everyone.
Yeah, that's really the inspiration behind the company, to make it accessible for everyone. But I want to talk a little bit, and then Nicole will come to you. Enjoyable and craveable food, people don't always associate that with salad.
Absolutely. I do get that question a lot. How can an inexpensive salad be so flavorful and so craveable? And I think the proof is in that first bite, the first experience you have. What we've been able to do at Salad & Go is completely change the dynamic of how restaurant concepts are built. We start first with a central kitchen. That central kitchen actually is where all of the product that is sourced directly from the growers comes in.
Right.
It's washed, it's cut, it's prepared for our stores and distributed in almost the feeling of a vertically integrated model. Not perfectly, but along the lines of that. What that allows us to do is take very fresh fruit and bring it straight to the consumer. But we don't stop at the produce. We actually make all of our dressings from scratch recipes with no additives, no preservatives. So what you're eating is a very clean food. And then we also pair them up with a lot of drinks. We have lemonades and teas that we produce for the stores, and those are also made available through those central kitchens. All of that allows us to unlock a real opportunity, which is the complicated challenge of food today is the cost of labor.
Yeah.
We're actually able to pay people more than most restaurants ever do by centralizing a lot of that the production in our central kitchens and then simplifying the store itself. And so for that, we can actually produce that salad that many of you had today and produce it for you for less than $7 with protein, either chicken, tofu, and a little add-on for steak.
Thank you so much for explaining that. And I want to come back in a little while. You can clap.
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you.
I want to come back to growers and employees in a little bit. But Nicole, if I can turn to you, you have said that the restaurant industry has been involved in some not so great things over the years. We've seen it. There's been worker abuse. There's been lots of unhealthy products. But you also really look at restaurants as part of this solution. And I think we've seen a lot of that happened since the pandemic when, again, so much was unveiled. We saw how restaurants were treating workers if we didn't know about it before. We saw, some of the unhealthy practices and toxic masculinity that was just so ingrained in restaurants. And I wonder now, what's your vision? Like, I ask a lot of restaurateurs this, what's your vision for the future of hospitality?
Yeah, hospitality is such a great word for it because food in so many ways is this fundamental way of showing love to our fellow man, right? It's a nourishing
and woman,
thing.
And non-binary.
Fellow people. Thank you. No, thank you for that. But it is this unifying fundamental need that we have, but it also is a way to bring pleasure and community bring us together and sort of elevate the way we connect with one another. And I love the word hospitality, even when it comes to a drive-through concept like ours, because there is still that sense of service that is at the heart of what we do. And I think what excites me about the future of the restaurant space, particularly with the way we're approaching it, is that there's a disruption at the heart that's being driven by the demands of the guest. I don't like to say consumer, even though that's really what we all are.
Eaters.
Us eaters, all us eaters out there, right? There is this feeling of we're mad as hell and we don't want to take it anymore.
Yeah.
And you get that coming from people, the people that we serve every day. You get that coming from team members who are sick and tired of the drudgery of working over a fryer, working in unsanitary conditions, feeling like the food they're preparing is not food they want to eat.
Right.
And then you contrast that with the feeling of going into a salad and go store. It's clean, it's bright, it's light, it's cool, because we don't have fryers, we don't have flat top grills and things like that. We're doing, as Charlie mentioned, central preparation and then assembling the salads. But what I think is the fundamental disruption that we're hoping we can be sort of a catalyst for across the industry is this idea that nourishment, wellness, full spectrum wellness of the whole person, that is financial wellness, mental wellness, physical wellness, financial, I said financial wellness, but that's a big one, that all of those can be served through these channels. The pressures of a modern life make it very, very difficult to be the person who goes only to the farmer's market, only to the organic produce section, to come home, cook a meal, serve your family and those you love. I think often, all the time, that's who I think about, is who is it that we're serving?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of conversation about underserved communities when we discuss food justice and accessibility. In a lot of ways, the restaurant industry has underserved us all. Higher prices, less holistic nutrition, and even in kind of historically, dependably inexpensive channels like traditional fast food, the food wasn't necessarily great for you, but it was dependably affordable.
Yeah.
So there was some nourishment that could be had.
Yeah.
With prices continuing to rise across the entire sector, now it's kind of like, well, what's the deal, right? There's not a deal here. I'm not getting a great price, and I'm also not getting great food.
Yeah.
So we're aiming to completely flip that on its head.
I love it. But you're saying all the right words, right? Nourishment, wholeness, holistic, nutrition, holistic well-being. This is very difficult to achieve in sort of this fast casual, fast food, if I can say, model. And I want to ask a few questions that might be uncomfortable. One, about sourcing from growers and how that works both regionally and locally. And two, workers, the worker union movement in this country is growing among food workers the fastest and the biggest. And how you would handle that, or how you maybe are already handling that as part of your work.
Well, I'll try to address both of these. Let's first start with the food itself. One thing we have recognized is that it is very difficult to access healthy food. Now, not all healthy food has to be organic, has to follow the strict guidelines around it, but can be accessed. So if someone wanted to go to the grocery store and replicate the salad that we serve to our customers, our guests every day, you would spend a lot of money to get that done. It's just not affordable. And so what consumers and our guests are left with is, when they're dealing with challenges of access, when they're dealing with challenges of affordability, they're left with very few options. And that's a real challenge. We want to unlock that. So what we won't do as an organization is promise the world, but what we will promise you is very fresh ingredients, that we know where they're sourced, that we know how they've been handled in our central kitchens. We will promise you that our food will be provided to you in a responsible way by not adding any unnatural additives or preservatives to the product, so that it is a true, clean, healthy eating. Our goal, first and foremost, is eliminating that conflict between accessibility, affordability, and wellness. And we think we can do all of that. And we don't believe that there's anyone out there that does that in fast food or fast casual restaurants today. On the team member side, the employee side of things, we're also doing it in a way that's responsible to them. We have a minimum starting point for the wage rate in our stores of at least $15 an hour or more. We want people to build and grow and have a lifestyle that is one that they can afford to live. And then when we take the if you will, the back of the house in a traditional restaurant where people are cooking and prepping and all of that, when we centralize that to our kitchens, we're paying well over $20 an hour for people to do that. So our goal is to avoid the challenges associated with unionization, although we understand why that exists, but we'd rather solve it with a responsible approach to doing it and still provide a price point to our customers that is well below anything else you can get. You cannot get a burger, fries, and a drink cheaper than you can get a salad and a drink at Salad and Go. That's the way the world should be. You should have fresh and healthy options available, and we should do it in a responsible way.
I just wanted to add to that on, in terms of our focus on accessibility. It is a true fundamental mission orientation of the company. And this idea that food that nourishes your entire well-being should be accessible to as many people as possible. And I think that as there's like innovation in nutrition and wellness, oftentimes the sort of investments that go into that make the resulting product or service inaccessible for a lot of people. Sure. And it tends to sort of widen that gap of accessibility, where you do have to have a certain level of income or disposable income to be able to access those. And it's understandable because the research and development and infrastructure required to build those things does mean you have to price a product in that way in order to get it out in the world. You asked, like, it's hard to do that in the QSR space, and that's absolutely true, but we've figured out how to do that by centralizing specialized labor. That's really what's at the heart of it, is creating these work environments, as Charlie mentioned, where we're paying equitable wages, and I mentioned the stores and how comparatively lovely they are to be in relative to a traditional fast food place. But the accessibility component, when it's related to price and the value and the nutrition that you're getting for it, is really, really at the core of what we're doing.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I'm wondering, when you talk about accessibility, what does that mean for location and picking those locations?
A great question. So our strategy for real estate follows our mission, and the last two words of our mission is for all. And lots of restaurant concepts, especially when you're talking about healthy food concepts, they're very high priced. They tend to appeal to people who can afford their product, and that tends to limit the real estate access of their concepts. So you'll find them generally in the suburbs, where there's higher income, where there are people who will eat your product, and we don't do that. We actually go the opposite. You'll see our Salad and Go locations show up everywhere. When we go into a market, we go in with a lot of fury and excitement to get as many locations built as we can. That helps our model in a big way. And so you'll see us all over a metro area, every market we can be in. What we found is no matter what your income level, no matter anything about who you are as an individual, no matter where you are, we want to find you. And so we've proven that over and over and over again in the 135 locations and growing today, and we're building about one a week. We're finding that no matter where we go, we found success.
Well, and I imagine that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are playing a huge part of how you think about where to locate these, what ingredients, that kind of thing. Can you talk a little bit about that in the minute you have left?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because the rise of the drive-thru has been this trend that we've seen, particularly among Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And there's a really interesting insight driving that, and that's this idea of a third space that really belongs to people outside of the parents' home, outside of school, outside of work. I guess that's an eighth space or whatever it is. But our model, the drive-thru specifically, lends itself to that cultural phenomenon because it is a way to have a private space, engaging with a service, and then sort of like finding a place to park, turning up the music, and having a great time with your friends while you're eating.
Yeah, that's so great. Thank you for that. So finally, what did you provide for the attendees today? What deliciousness was on the menu?
So we had 3 salads that we brought today. These are salads that are on our menu. All of them come with a protein, either chicken or tofu. We brought our roasted autumn salad today, which has all kinds of amazing stuff like roasted Brussels sprouts and sweet potatoes and candied pecans. We also brought our barbecue ranch salad, which I hope some of you got to try. It's one of my personal favorites. That one you could get with or without our roasted chicken. And we brought a Caesar salad, which is sort of a great standby. And I will say that, Michelin star chef is at the heart of our culinary strategy. He was one of those who said, this isn't right. I can make this incredible Caesar salad, and I'm working in a restaurant that's selling it for $35. That is wrong. And so I'm going to take the same way I made the dressing in that restaurant, and I'm going to make it accessible to everyone.
That's so great. Thank you both so much for sharing this
Thank
incredible
you.
story. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Round of applause. Thank you. So you can leave that.